You're welcome to the last lap of lecture 8, titled Alternative Hypothesis. We are still on hypothesis. We are on the last lap of it. We have discussed types of hypotheses, which we said we have two major types, the research hypothesis and the statistical hypothesis. Under statistical hypothesis, we say it's also subdivided into two, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. We have already discussed the null hypothesis. Now in this lecture, we are going to discuss alternative hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is denoted by HA, capital H and small a. Remember I told you in the last one when we were talking about null hypothesis, you say it's denoted by capital H and small o. But this one is a capital H. This S stands for alternative. Then this capital H stands for hypothesis. They specify the conditions which will hold if the null hypothesis does not hold. Good. That means in statistical hypothesis, which is the hypothesis that we use in carrying out research, in scientific research, you must have in mind in this hypothesis you are stating that you are using, the one you are stating, people are looking visible, are going to see is the null. But the other one is hiding somewhere, meaning that as you are testing for null hypothesis, if you reject or not uphold the null hypothesis, you are going to accept the alternative hypothesis. And that's where we are. Let us look at typical examples of how to state alternative hypothesis. HA1, that means we are talking about the first hypothesis for the study. There is statistically significant difference between the mean scores of students taught concepts of sampling techniques with visual or Zoom method and physical class method at a level of 0.05. So we are saying in this one, if you can remember what we did in the first one, we use the word there is no in the null because null stands for no. But in this alternative, we are not saying there is no. There is. There is. So we say there is statistically significant difference between the mean scores of students taught concept of sampling techniques with visual or Zoom method and the physical class method at a probability less than 0.05. Then this is HO1, there is no. But in HA, we say there is. I want you to take note of this. The implication is that when a null hypothesis is rejected or not confirmed, not upheld, then alternative hypothesis is accepted. Confirmed or upheld, yes. Like I said, anytime you're working with null hypothesis, have in mind that you're also at the same time working with the alternative hypothesis implied. If you state your hypothesis in a null form, that is, there is no, the one that is biasless, the one that is non-directional, remember that if you reject it, or if you do not confirm it, if you do not uphold it, that means the other alternative is implied. So alternative hypothesis, simply denoted or simply symbolized with HA, is of two kinds. This one is now further subdivided. We have directional or non-directional alternative hypothesis. So you have seen that here, we have already agreed there is a significant difference. But what we want to find out, is it directional or non-directional? Let us look at directional alternative hypothesis. A directional alternative hypothesis specifies the direction of the hypothesized difference or relationship or effect. So in a alternative hypothesis, I said there is. Now we know there is. What direction? Is it high or low? That's what we want to find out here. So let us look at this sample. You say the main science concept acquisition scores of students taught with improvised learning resources will be significantly higher than mean concept acquisition scores of students taught without improvised learning resources. So I said this one is directional. It's telling us it's going to be higher, and not that there will just be. But it's not there will be, but it's going to be higher. So we know we are going to expect to see something higher. The underlying information has actually specified the direction of the hypothesized difference or relationship or difference. Let us look at non-directional alternative hypothesis. A non-directional alternative hypothesis is just opposite of what we have discussed. Does specify any direction in the hypothesized difference or relationship. So when it is non-directional, it does not tell you whether it's going to be higher or going to be lower, going to be poor, going to be good, or things like that. No. Samples of alternative hypotheses are aforementioned. Okay. Samples of alternative hypotheses aforementioned exemplify non-directional alternative hypotheses. So that are examples of what? Non-directional. That's what we're trying to say here. Example HA1, there is statistically significant difference between the mean scores of students taught concept of sampling techniques with a visual or zoom method and physical class method at a probability less than 0.05. In summary, hypotheses are postulated to 1. Provide a guide and direction to the investigation. 2. To aid researchers to understand the problem better. To sensitize and draw the attention of these researchers to the vital aspect of the problem under investigation, and to provide a framework for drawing conclusion. Now, there's need for you to do some exercise in this lecture to enable you to practice what you have taught. I expect you to distinguish between a research question and a hypothesis. I also expect you to identify the 3 major criteria for formulating a good hypothesis. Find out what are the 4 basic functions of hypothesis. Differentiate between a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. In our next lecture, we are going to look at research proposal reports. Thank you.